I am the disabled guy with the disabled life. This podcast is going to be about disabled issues and other things that interest me and others from the disabled community. I did this so that people understand what we go through in life and what we do, because a lot of what we do, it is interesting.
About 13 years.
I'm also going to talk a little bit about ADA and things of that nature. It's something that's very important to me and something that I learned a lot about when I did an episode. I'm going to talk more about it. Okay. This podcast, it's going to come out at 10 p.m. Saturday and Wednesday. So that's when that's when I think most people listen. Most people listen at night or have the episodes there for during for the daytime. So let me stop this. Michelle, thank you for joining me. So tell me a little bit about you.
Sure. Well, my name is Michelle Steiner. I live in Pennsylvania with my husband, Ron, and our two cats, Jack and Sparrow.
Let me ask you, what part of PA? Sorry.
That's fine. I live in western Pennsylvania, just right outside of Pittsburgh.
Because the reason I ask you that is I got a family member in PA.
Oh.
What happened to Oh no.
Chat with Michelle Steiner, button. Video call, disabled, button.
What happened there?
I clicked out of there. I'm so sorry. Okay.
No problem. Go ahead and go. Where was I?
Yeah, you were saying you had a family member that lived in Pennsylvania?
Yes. She's so I called her and I asked her, what are the hours in school? She asked me why in PA. Because I wanted to know.
Right.
I wanted to know why you set those hours.
Yeah.
She's like, what? So tell me about your life.
Sure. I work in a school as a paraeducator. Mm-hmm. I help out some students that have disabilities and some who just need a little extra help. Mm-hmm. And I also work as a disability writer, speaker, and photographer. Mm-hmm. And I have a blog called Michelle's Mission, where I write about life with a learning disability. And I also feature my photography as well. And I have a learning disability myself.
Right. Let me. What is the proper term now? Because because when I was in school, it was just called an aide.
Right. I'm a paraprofessional. That's what our district calls them. Other places call them paraeducators. Some will call them teaching assistants, teacher's aide. But yeah.
No. Because I like to use proper terminology. You understand that? Yeah.
Right. I definitely understand. Yes.
Now I've got a question for you. How difficult was it for you to get your job?
For me, it was a process. I remember it was trial and error, because whenever I was done with college and getting my bachelor's degree, despite being told I couldn't do it, it took me a while to find the right job. I worked for some jobs that said they were disability friendly, and they really were anything but.
Yeah.
And I eventually came back to working as a paraprofessional in a school. I did it on a temporary basis as a sub, and I applied, and I told my husband, I'm just going to get on the sub list. I think that's what's going to happen. And to my surprise, they offered me a permanent position.
Right. Let me ask you. So how do your colleagues react to you having a disability?
I have some really great ones who definitely understand that I have a disability and I cannot help the kids with math, and they don't give me a lot of math. And then I've also run into issues with some coworkers who maybe don't always understand, and that's the issue. And sometimes it can be really difficult because you can't see my disability.
No.
And so but I've been really lucky at my job, though. I mean, I've had a lot of people that have been understanding.
Okay, I am also dyslexic. I am also dually disabled. You understand what I'm saying when I mean that?
Yeah.
Okay, I have cerebral palsy, and I'm severely dyslexic.
Okay.
I used to be what they call functionally illiterate. I don't think I'm no longer that. You know why I say I'm not? You know why I say I'm no longer that?
Okay. Why do you say you're no longer that?
Because the technology has helped me to surpass it.
Good. That's awesome.
So let me ask you. So what got you? How did the kids react to you and your disability?
I will sometimes get kids who don't always understand it either. It can be really humorous. I can remember I was working in a first grade room trying to help out a little girl with math, and I obviously got the answer wrong, even in an elementary school.
Right.
And she couldn't understand, and I said, "Oh, Mrs. Steiner's just not good with numbers." And she said, "There's grown-up school for that." And I had to laugh at that.
No, yeah.
And I've had some really heartwarming experiences as well. I remember there was a girl that wanted me to help her with her math in 7th grade, and I couldn't do it. And then somebody asked, "Well, why can't you?" And I said, "Well, God just didn't give me that ability to be able to do math very well."
Right.
And she looked at me and she goes, "Me too."
Yeah.
So there's the heartwarming, and then we get some kids that like to be silly and say, "Can you help me with your math?" And I look at them and say, "Now, come on, now, I can't do that."
Yeah. Let me ask you. Did you have any? You told me, very very small, that you had a problem with somebody trying to challenge your job or something. Am I correct?
When I was young, I had a lot of people who didn't think that I could do a lot of things. That was something that was really difficult.
Right.
A lot of times, people were saying that I couldn't go to college. I couldn't get my bachelor's degree.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to have the job that I wanted in life.
Right.
I'd have really limited job choices. And that's never a fun thing when you have a lot of people that want to try to limit what you can do. I think everybody should have the option to try, and it definitely was not an easy process for me to go through school. It wasn't easy for me to be able to learn a lot of things. I mean, my disability didn't go away whenever I graduated, but I think everybody needs to have, number one, the supports in place and somebody that's able to give them options.
Yes. Let me make a comment to you so you understand me. I am an amateur radio operator. I don't know if I told you when I first interviewed you. Did I tell you that?
Yes, you did. Yes.
Did I tell you the fact that I'm also a amateur radio examiner? Okay, I'll tell you how I do that. Okay, I'll explain how I do that. How I did it in the past, it was different because it was all paperwork. So my guys, let me tell you a humorous story first. I had a friend of mine that's now our liaison, our lead from the American Radio Relay League. Okay, so I'm running around because I can hide my disability if I have the correct team behind me. If I have the right team to write a piece of paper for me and I'll sign it, because the way it used to work, just so you understand, it's not who fills out the paperwork, it's who signs it.
Yeah.
Federally,
Right.
So my guys would go in there, and the ones that knew would sign my paperwork, would fill out my paperwork and say, "Here, sign this," knowing that I was approving it. They're not forcing me. They just said, "Sign this," because I filled you up. Okay, so now the lead did not know that. He did not notice that because he saw me running around in my wheelchair, being a proctor. If you know what a proctor is.
Somebody that, yeah.
Being one of 3 proctors. I'm sitting there doing this. I'm answering questions for people. I'm monitoring an exam, as well as how to do that. Okay, he sees all that. Doesn't see that I'm doing this. he doesn't know this because he wasn't an examiner at the time. He doesn't know that I can't do this. So,
Right.
so I'm learning. I'm signing documents like crazy, and then we go out to dinner one day, and I said, "Can you read the menu for me?" And he looked at me like, "What?" I go, "I can't read the menu." He laughed. So yeah, let me ask you, how many cats do you have?
2.
Are they both male or female?
We have a male and we have a female.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking you, I'm trying to get to know you at the same time here.
That's fine.
Tell me about your book a little bit.
I have an anthology that I was published in last summer called Rediscovering Your Story.
Right.
And I have 3 of my stories published. I went to some workshops with some people that some of them had addictions, some of them were in recovery for that. Other people had mental health issues, and I think I was the only one that had a learning disability.
Right.
But we wrote stories about different topics, like our favorite places, which one of mine is Phipps Conservancy in Pittsburgh. That is one of my favorite gardens to go to. I also wrote about the greatest lesson I had to learn in life, and that was about accepting my disability. And we even wrote a prompt about our hair. So I have one that I published in that one as well.
Right.
And the book is available for purchase on Amazon. And it's just all stories that people wrote about these different kinds of prompts that we wrote.
Let me ask you this. Tell me, if you can tell me some stories about your about the kids that you work with.
Uh-huh.
You know, some funny stories and some real stories,
I think some of the funniest stories that I definitely have is just sometimes you get in there and it might be a really tense moment, and then all of a sudden you just start laughing. And you get to break that tension sometimes, because I think I deal with a lot of students that have anxiety, and definitely some of them have disabilities, and sometimes it can get really intense, and you'll be in this moment and you'll just start laughing, and then everything just kind of falls into place. And then there's also some really tender moments. I can remember last year there was a girl that was really afraid to ask for help, and I went through and I said, well, here, let's go ask our teacher for help. This is the steps we need to go through, and we need to do that. And that student was not afraid that she was able to go up and she was able to ask for the help that she needed, and she wasn't afraid to do that. I had another student last year that for a long time we worked on organizing her backpack. She'd have papers everywhere, and
it was down to that level?
Yes, it was down to that. We get down to that level, and I resurrect papers out of backpacks. I just did that today for somebody.
What what age children do you work with?
I work with children between middle school age, 6th to 8th grade.
But the reason I ask you is because when you said you go down to the level of organizing a backpack, I'm like, I thought that was less.
A lot of them have issues, though. I mean, we're there to support the students. Some of them might come in and they might need help with organizing their backpack. But the really cool thing about that was we worked on that for I don't know how many weeks. And then by the end of the school year, she was asking me how to spell extra, because she knew how to organize her backpack by that point. And that was one of my proudest moments with her. Did you get to do that?
It's one of these things. I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me. You know the term checking a box?
Yes, checking a box.
Okay. I was for the longest time. I also do emergency work. I carry a county credential. I used to carry a city credential when they existed. Actually, I found my credential the other day. My city credential. But by thinking about the big picture, when I was in the city organization, I was checking a box where everything that I was doing, I was being challenged by one of the leads, one of the volunteer leads. Okay, I'll give you a prime example of this. We're using. I don't know if you've ever seen a law enforcement's ID. That's a hard ID. It's a card and they print a picture on the front of it. And on the back of either they print something or they give you something. So that's what they
Right.
did. So that's what they did. So the story here is when I went to get the first one, I went with my dad, right? I don't drive. The lady went to take my dad's picture. I had to stop her and say, no, no. I had to stop her and say, no, no. You don't do that. So she came and took my picture. So, and then we go back to you after I finish the story. So then my identification broke, right? So I went through chain of command. It broke. I didn't lose it, right? I went through chain of command. I called the second guy. He also, the funny thing is, he had a disability too, now passed away.
Oh my goodness.
A Parkinsonian type thing, right? So I called him, and you know what? He yelled at me and said, "You lost the ID. You can't have another one."
Oh boy.
The thing is, I had the pieces. So my mom used to work at a local store, Winn-Dixie. If you're familiar with that store.
I've heard of it. I've never been to one.
Okay. So I said, in the deli department, they use a strong tape to seal boxes, whatever. So I said, can you bring me a roll that's almost finished? I just need a piece of that to put that thing together. So I had the pieces, right? So I took it to the next meeting and I showed it to him. I said, here, it is not lost, right?
Oh my goodness.
So he said, no, go talk to the other one. But he was pissed off. So when I went to get it, right? The girl, the same girl that tried to get my dad's picture 2 years earlier, was still there. So,
oh no.
So she says to me, "You're not supposed to have this ID because this is altered. Looks altered, right?" I said, "Yes, I know, but this person insisted. She told me you could have brought me the pieces." I go, but this person insisted that I was incorrect. So I had to do it. You know, he kept giving me problem to the point where the lead told him, leave him alone, because he can call the lawyer on us.
Right, exactly.
Because so let me ask you, did you get any problems like that? Major things?
Well, I'm not able to drive. I can't. Yeah, so I do. I have an ID card as well, and sometimes people can't understand because I have issues with my visual perception, but it's not in my eyes; it's in my brain.
Yeah. So.
And I did have an issue. Yeah, I did have an issue when I was at the driver's license center a couple of years ago during COVID when I had to get it renewed. Sometimes I take my husband with me to help me out if there's something in public or if I need some support with something or I don't quite understand. And everybody's waiting outside because you can't have a lot of people in the building.
Oh, no.
And it's a lot of kids, and they're all going in the building with their parents, and there's a couple elderly people going in and out. Yeah, and it came time for my turn, and I went in with my husband, and the woman goes, "Well, okay, what are you here for?" I said, "Oh, I'm here to get my ID." And she said, "Well, okay, well, what is he here for?" I said, "Oh, he's here to help." She goes, "Can't you see there's a line of people?" And I said, "I have a disability, and I need my husband to help me." And we locked eyes with each other, and she eventually said, "Just go forward."
No, but there's people. I'm going to tell you, there's people that are ignorant.
Yeah.
This is something that's happened to me often.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can, but I can detect. I can detect a disability. I can do that. I can detect a hidden disability. Let me ask you. So have you ever? Is this the only book you want to write?
Well, I'm going to definitely write some more books in the future. I want to write a children's book about dyscalculia that I have.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going to write a memoir about my chasing butterflies because the transformation that I went through. It's similar to what a butterfly does.
Tell me what even though you told me, but tell me for the recording, what is dyscalculia?
Dyscalculia is a math learning disability, so I have difficulty with how numbers work. I don't see them backwards, but I just have a difficulty with understanding them.
Yeah, it's gonna come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also have limited hand dexterity and the visual perception, but it's in my brain, not in my eyes.
Right. Let me give you a quick one. I am also in the Red Cross. Okay. So one of our volunteers has been there for years, wanted to bring his grandson in. The easiest way to bring his grandson in was to get him his ham license, right? So you can get him a badge and then he can go where he wants. So he kept failing the test. As an examiner with a disability, I'm like, oh, why? Right?
Right.
So I point blank ask him, what is going on? Why is he constantly failing?
Yeah.
And he goes, he doesn't want me to tell you, but he's dyslexic. I said, I knew that, but I couldn't tell you that.
Right, exactly.
Right. So what I did, that's why I was thinking of talking to your kids. This is why.
Yeah.
I pulled them aside and I said, look, if you want to be here and you need help, you need to tell us to help you. I literally, I told him that because how can I help him if he doesn't know, if I don't know?
Exactly.
You see what I'm getting at? So that's why I said, because your story that you told me inspired me to want to write a book.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, that's why I wanted to talk to you to see how we do that, how that is done.
Right. I'm still, in the beginning stages. I have a writing group that I belong to.
Yeah.
And they've been really encouraging me to write a lot about that. There's sometimes you might find calls, like there's newspages.org, I believe, and they have different places you can submit writing to.
I know, yeah.
There's publishers that are out there. There's a lot of disability sources too that have writings. Not necessarily books, but I've gotten published on a lot of these places.
Okay. So you understand, my dyslexia is so severe that I can't write physically.
Right.
I can't take a pen and write.
Okay, you can type.
Yeah.
Yep.
I type slow and dictate. So let me ask you this: how long? Okay, if you don't mind, this is something I'm going to go somewhere. If you don't like it, don't go there.
Okay.
Okay. When you met your husband, how long did it take you to say, I'm dyslexic or I have this problem?
It took, on our first date, I told him I had a learning disability.
Okay. No,
and we got to know each other before that, and we were friends. But the subject didn't come up. But
some people hide that. Like I don't intend. For example, I didn't intend to hide it from my exam guy. But what happened and it had never come up. So my question to you now is, how long have you been working for the school system?
For 13 years.
Do you like your job?
I do. I like working with the students.
Yeah, to me it's rewarding. To me it's very rewarding to be able to help somebody. That's why I do what I do.
Yep, exactly.
Let me talk about technology a little bit. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, technology has changed so much to where it helps. No, it wasn't you that I told this story. It was my other guest. I'll tell this story. I love music. I love music. I had a dream of becoming a radio DJ. But that dream didn't go anywhere. You know why that dream didn't go anywhere? Take a guess.
You couldn't read. It was hard for you to read things and to be able to understand. Yeah.
No, it's the college.
Oh, college. Oh, yes. Okay, college.
Because they were forcing you. I graduated in 92.
Okay.
So you know that the ADA is not technology is not what it is now.
Right.
So college would have been so hard that I said, no, I can't do this.
Right. Now, I know with going to college, that was definitely a big concern of mine because of the math, not so much the reading.
Right.
And I went a few years after ADA, and there there were colleges that had disability accommodations with them, and there were some students that had disabilities. I didn't know a whole lot of them.
Excuse me, sorry.
And I can remember, like, it was still really difficult. There was a stigma around people who used accommodations.
Oh, yeah.
For example, they thought we were getting the answers if you got extended test time
No.
or you used the calculator. And that was one of the things that was really difficult about and that made me not want to use them. And then when I didn't use them, my grades really suffered.
I know.
But when I went to university and I matured, I made sure that I found the right program, had the least amount of math and science possible.
Right.
And I used the accommodations they offered on campus.
How supportive were your instructors, sorry?
At community college, I didn't have as many supportive instructors. I had a lot in the English department, and there was a class I was really struggling with, and the teacher said, why don't we at least get you extended test time? When I went to university, I had a lot more really understanding staff. I was studying community programming for Americans with Disabilities, so a lot of their staff really was very informed on that.
Right.
And some of the staff outside of it didn't always get the memo.
Right.
But that's kind of how life is. But I was able to work through that and be able to get the tutoring and the services needed. And I made Dean's List for a semester.
Wow.
And I was able to graduate with a bachelor's degree.
When you say that, I see the smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm going to tell you something about me so you know me a little bit. Okay. As an examiner, I prefer to not do accommodated tests. We have to do them by law. But it takes so much longer that I'm like, that's just me. And they'll read for you. I won't. Because I can't.
Right.
But the law says...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting how this evolved. I never thought I'd been doing an amateur radio exam, being an examiner on that side of it.
Right.
But you always have to have, like you say, you always have to have supportive teams.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to remember that if I don't take the extended test time, I didn't have somebody read it to me, but I would remember if I didn't take it, it would be my grades really didn't work out that great. I wouldn't get as good of a score. And I can remember I was taking my logic, philosophy-based math course to meet my math requirement, and I had a tutor that had ADHD, and he needed extra test time. And we were both taking separate exams the one day, but we were in the testing room. He was on one side, I was on the other, and that was just really affirming to me that here is somebody that's helping me in my class that I'm struggling with, and he's using accommodations, and I'm using them, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with somebody who is doing that.
Let me ask you this question. How do you get to and from work?
I'm really blessed. My husband takes me to work in the morning, and I have a really sweet coworker that takes me home in the afternoon. Okay. And I live close enough that when sometimes somebody is off from work that day, or if just there's a lot of busy schedules, that I'm able to walk home.
No, I'm asking you because I have a weird situation.
Okay.
I'll explain to you my weird situation. My mom can drive me some places, but she had an accident. So she doesn't like to do highway, or she doesn't like to drive at night anymore. So I use something called STS, paratransit. Do you use that?
I used to use that.
Right.
It was a little more trouble than it was worth for me.
Right, no, that's
because
true.
they would either pick me up early or they would drop me off, pick me up late. And I was glad when we worked my situation.
Right, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes I have to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a good thing though. Too.
Yeah, it is, but it's a pain.
I hear you.
I have a situation now, too, where we do our meetings. They moved our room.
Okay.
They moved us into another building. So that caused me a logistical nightmare.
I can see that. Yeah.
Because the person that opens the gate is not in the building where we are anymore.
Oh boy.
So how am I sure that that person is not going to walk away and forget her phone?
Right.
She's not going to know that my ride is there. So I had to talk to my friend, my leader, and say,
Yeah.
when I go, I need you to bring me home because blah 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 blah. He's happy to do that.
Yep. Exactly.
I'll tell you a funny story. He has a huge truck, a tall truck. I told the story to my other guest where I gave him an old walker of mine. He has it in his garage. So when he has to pick me up from there, I have to text him in the morning and say, "Don't forget to throw the walker in the afternoon before you leave around 4." I have to send him a text. "Don't forget to throw the walker in the back of your truck."
Oh, yeah. That works.
You know, so because what's happening is because when I was in the building with the security guard, I was able to. I would say, "Excuse me, I need you to stay here until 9 p.m. or whatever it was."
Yeah.
And she would stay there. She didn't have to, but I asked her to. So she would stay there.
That's awesome.
They would stay there, and it's like, that's what I'm saying. That's why I asked you about accommodations and rides and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a factor that when you don't drive, it's really important that you have a strong support system.
How to get around.
And yeah.
And there's times that I do something else. Maybe you do this yourself, where you get somebody to drop you off, and then somebody from there brings you back home.
Yeah, sometimes that has worked out too. Definitely. Sometimes
Right.
that yeah.
I'll give you a prime example of that. My mom was busy, going to be busy in the afternoon, so an examiner, a Red Cross trainer that I know very well, that's also an examiner, said, "I want you to take this class." So you know what he said? "I'll bring you home."
Yeah, sometimes that works out that way.
I didn't have to. I didn't ask him. He just told me to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's something. The reason I'm talking to you about this is because you look like you can drive.
Yeah. I agree. People say that, and that's okay. Yeah, because people can't see the disability, and we knew that was going to be a factor when I was younger because but we just didn't know how it was going to impact with the driving.
Let me ask you. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah. So one of the things my parents did, they had me wait a year before we tried doing my license, and we live out in the country. We lived out in the country at that time, so my parents said, "Okay, why don't you try to mow our field?" And instead of making really nice long lines, I made crop circles. So I joke around that I know where crop circles come from. And I almost crashed our family car because we had a long driveway into the garage.
Yeah.
And at that point, we were like, "Oh, this is beyond just not being very coordinated."
No.
And I had a driver's license evaluation and passed everything with it until we got to visual perception, and they didn't recommend that I get my license.
No, just to tell you, I would have been able to drive if it wasn't for an eye surgery.
Okay.
They overcorrected me in an eye surgery.
Oh,
That's
boy.
what caused that. And the reason I found that the reason I found this, a special ed. It's not the right term, but I'm gonna have to use this because I don't know what it is. Special ed driving instructor told me you have something wrong with your eyes. He knew it. You knew. You know what I mean? So that's where I found out that I could not drive. And then I said, "Okay, now what?" You see what I'm saying? Because you go, because at 17 you go, "Wait a second, now what?" Right? But I learned to get rides with people.
Yeah. and I had friends who were older than I was, a couple years outside of school, and it never really was that big of
Right.
an issue.
No.
I mean, I had rides. A lot of people say, well, how did that impact you as a teenager? Well, a lot of my friends that I went to high school with didn't understand it. They would say, aren't you driving yet? Or don't you want to get your license? But the people that were a couple years older, they might have said, oh, yeah, we can see you driving in the future. But after they learned that that wasn't going to be possible, they've had no problems. We went on lots of outings and things,
No.
and we still hang out 20-some years later,
No,
and
yeah.
we make it work with a lot of that, too.
No, but there's one thing that that has to happen. You have to trust your friends
Yeah.
more than I mean than a regular person, because you're depending on them for a ride.
Yeah, exactly. And we got to know each other before that. That was the nice part, too.
Right? No, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
it's like I told Mom, I said, there's times where I won't know the person I'm riding with. There is that gonna happen. Because what happens if I coordinate something with the Red Cross and I get a phone call and they go, Joe Blow's gonna pick you up, and I don't know who that person is. He just shows,
Right.
he just shows up at my door with a Red Cross vehicle and an ID, and what happens?
Yeah. Oh, boy.
You know.
Well,
But
yeah, exactly. I mean, there are times where things like that can occur. I agree. It's one of the things I don't think a lot of people think about.
No.
How important it is with transportation
Right.
if you don't drive.
Right, but but the good thing about the Red Cross is everybody's background checked.
That works. Yeah.
There's nobody there that can't have a background check. If you don't pass a basic background check, you're not good.
Yeah.
So that's
A lot of my,
a factor that we're okay. I may not know you, but I know you're not a.
yeah.
I know what you are.
True. And a lot of my friends, especially the ones I'm working with
Right.
in the school, we all have background checks.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends have jobs in places where they have to have background checks as well. And it's just one of those things where everybody just,
Now, how far are you from Potter, Pennsylvania?
I am not 100% sure about that. I've heard of it, but I'm not 100%
Yeah,
sure
no,
how far I am.
yeah. Yeah, no, because that's where my family member is. So.
Your family is, okay.
Yeah. So
awesome.
no, because when you said Pennsylvania, I go, where is it?
Yeah. We live just about an outside,
Right.
an hour from Pittsburgh.
Right. No, because I'm very open to going places, doing things. I don't like you. I don't let this limit me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't. Like I said, who would think that a person with dyslexia gets accredited as an examiner?
Yeah, it happens. It really does. If you can find a way to do it, you can do a lot of the things with having the disability.
Right.
That's been a lot of the things that I've had to learn in my life, and it's so much more empowering when I focus on what I can do.
Yeah.
Than
what you can't do. Let me tell you. Let me tell you a story where my disability helped me.
Okay.
There was a guy threatening that I cheated him. I made him fail.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, my.
But here's the story. I bought him a book. I pocketed the shipping. So I didn't charge him the shipping. Right? So I go to the lady. She calls me to reconcile this thing. Right? And I said, excuse me, I'm on a fixed income. Right? No job. Why would I buy a book and not charge him for the shipping, and then intentionally make him fail? And she goes, "You're right." You see what I'm getting at? That's where my disability helped me get out of a problem.
Yeah, sometimes it does that too.
I like your shirt.
Oh, thank you. I love butterflies. Those are my thing. That's my thing.
Yeah, no, because the reason I was asking you is because I'm a person that's very open to meeting people. That's why I'm here doing this. Have you ever listened to have you listened to my podcast before?
I think I might have. Yeah. Yeah. That's on my to-do list.
Right. My first episodes were single episodes. Some are still going to be.
Oh yeah. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Okay.
So you noticed that there were a lot of single episodes.
Mhm.
I decided. You noticed that I changed a lot of things on my podcast. From one moment to the other, I flipped off a lot of things and changed a lot of things. So I went ahead and changed this stuff, and I said, okay, it's time. I'm getting tired of it, because what happens is you see the numbers.
Mhm.
You follow me? You see the numbers, and if
Yeah.
you see that this is not happening, and you're getting the same 3 listeners every week, twice a week,
Right.
what does that tell you?
Yeah, you need to expand. Yeah.
Something needs to change.
Yeah.
Something needs to change.
Exactly.
So I said, so then I met a lot of nice people also. I met one person. She's called her moniker, which I have to use.
Uh-huh.
Mine's the disabled guy. Sorry. Right. We use that because we like to keep anonymity.
Mhm.
Some people don't like what we do, whatever.
Right.
So we do that. So I'm like, so I talked to her and I chat with her. The way I got involved with her, right, is I gave her a topic. And we became friends after that.
Aw, that's nice.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes. And now, if I got a podcasting question, where do I go? I go to her and I go, hey, this isn't working. How do we do this?
Yep, have to have the support system.
So I went in there.
Awesome.
So I went in there and she told me, if you feel you need to change it, you need to change it. She said, I said, how? And she took time out of her evening one day.
Mhm.
She sat with me for 3 hours,
Oh my goodness.
back and forth on the phone. You know how much time that takes.
Oh my, that'd be a long time.
You know, to text back and forth.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So you see why I changed. You see how it changed.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, you know, you're somebody. Yeah. Because what happened is, I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel you're a kindred spirit.
Oh, thank you.
The reason I feel that is because I'm always looking for somebody. Okay, my thing is, I'm gonna say this to you. My thing is, I am a person that I don't have many friends that are disabled.
Okay.
Because I look for common interests.
Mhm.
I don't look for disability as an interest.
Right.
I don't, because it's not something I want to do. I don't want to talk about that. So what I do.
Oh yeah.
So-
Oh yeah, I have some friends who have disabilities, but then I have friends who don't have
Yeah.
disabilities, or maybe don't always feel comfortable sharing, or they don't make it as pronounced as I do, and that's fine. But
No.
yeah, we have common interests.
Right,
And we like
that's-
to do a lot of the same
Yeah. No.
things.
Like I said, some people don't even know I'm disabled until they meet me.
Yeah, exactly. Same here.
Yeah. It's like here. I'll give you an example. If I'm sitting behind my computer, right? You notice that my walker is not in my shot.
Mhm.
That wasn't intentional here, and that wasn't intentional here. But I will do this because some people don't like when they get a disabled person as an examiner. When I'm home, I take it out of my shot.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's definitely, because you want to feel comfortable if you're at home with that, and it's having that that privilege of just saying, okay, I can either tell people or I can just
Right.
not. Mhm.
But what I was saying is your team needs to know.
Yeah. Oh, they do. Yes, they definitely need to know, and that's always very important. That I do let people know what is going on, especially when I work with new people.
Right. So let me ask you, go back to that. How do new people react to you?
I get a lot of times people might say, "Oh, well, you don't look like you're disabled," or sometimes, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's okay. We won't do that." And then sometimes they don't understand. Oh, why can't you do math? And they forget because they look at me and I don't have the disability, and it's just reminding people and
Right.
just doing a lot of that stuff.
Let me ask you: did anybody ever go? If you're comfortable answering this one, did anybody ever go to the administration and say, "I can't work with her"?
To my knowledge, that hasn't happened. I have not had that, but they do. The administration does know
Right.
that
So,
I can't do certain things, and I've always been very upfront, open, and honest.
Right.
So if they say that they don't want me there, or they have an issue with that, I know that.
Right.
Right. They understand they have to accommodate with that, and if that means moving my schedule, or if that
Right.
means
No.
that I do something else, that's fine.
yeah.
But that's why I think it's having that open and honest dialogue is so important.
But you see how I'm doing this? I put stuff in there and I throw something else back in.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. Let me ask you. So how old were you when you realized you were different?
I was diagnosed whenever I was 5 years old, and my parents were very open and honest with me at that age, and
Right.
told me that I had a learning disability and that I learned differently.
Right. No, because that's something. Okay. One thing is that I wasn't told that. I figured it out on my own,
Okay.
which is not the best.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is not the best. 'Cause you're like, I don't know what's going on with me.
Right. And if I didn't know what was happening, then I might believe a lot of my peers that were
Right.
telling me that I wasn't smart, and a lot of other misinformation.
Right. No.
So, yeah, it's important. The parents tell their
Kids.
children what is going on.
Kids can be difficult.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you ever have problems with kids making fun of you?
I've had some issues where sometimes students have, or I've had kids that have done that. I had a lot of bullying whenever I was in school, and that was really upsetting to me.
No. I mean, when you're at work, does it have you?
Yes, that has happened. I have another condition where I walk with my feet turned in, and it's just how I was positioned in the womb.
Right.
And I have had people that have made comments
Right.
or have done a lot of things, and it's just one of the, sometimes it's just kind of best to just like brush that off, and other times I did tell one of the teachers it was happening just so they were aware of it. And sometimes I might get a kid that they know I can't do math, and they'll say, "Can you help me with my math?"
Right. No.
And I just brush it off
Yeah.
and say, I can't do that. I've made peace with the
Right.
things in my life that are my disabilities or
Right.
has made me different.
But have you ever had to discipline a kid because they're doing something that's very terrible?
Oh yes, I've had to discipline children. I've had to do a lot of write-ups. Sometimes we do this de-escalation. We do things where we have to tell them, "I need you to stop doing this." We do a lot of redirecting. We do have students that do have some problems with that, and just it's one of those things we just have to kind of work to shape our students.
Right. Let me ask. So, what is de-escalation? What does that mean?
Sure, that could be a student whenever they're getting really upset, or can be dangerous to themselves or other people, or they're really upset about something.
Right.
The situation's getting really intense sometimes, and we have to kind of go in and kind of calm the situation down, figure out what the problem is,
Right.
and just be able to get them back to being, calm and that sort of
Do
thing.
you give them a break from a class if that need be?
Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we already have breaks built in where they can get a walk or a sensory break. Sometimes we do that.
So
It depends on.
So you have autistic children then?
We do have children who have autism, but we also have students in the
Right,
gen ed room that just need a break too.
Right. No.
Just sometimes they need a walk. Sometimes they just need somebody to talk to
Right,
about
no.
what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll tell you a story on this, and then I'll stop it, and then we can continue talking if you wish.
Okay.
When I was in high school.
Uh-huh.
I was in high school. It was 3 months, 6 months to 3 months before I graduated high school. right? So here go. So here goes this. Okay, here's what happens. We were all in one classroom. We were all in one classroom, and all the wheelchairs would sit on a table because we had like you help us. You know how you sit like a bunch of kids around you, and you help them with reading, and you help them with. Okay, they were doing this in one class, right? So we had one with rheumatic fever.
Okay. Oh.
Okay. So she did something wacko. She took a Kleenex and threw it on my pants. Dirty.
Oh no. Oh boy.
So I can't do anything about this except throwing it on the ground.
Okay.
You follow? I'm gonna throw it on the ground. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna give it. I have to be careful with the wording. Sorry. I have to be careful.
That's okay.
No, it's not because of you. It's because I don't wanna put a. I don't want to put something in there.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I understand.
It's not you. It's just so
Okay.
So I'm like, oh no. So I'm like, oh no, this is going on. So I threw it on the ground. Right? But the teacher didn't see what was happening.
Right.
She yelled at me. So she put after class. I said, yeah, it's after class. I'm like, oh God, I know what's going on with this. So I said, you know what? I was pissed. But I understood. Right. I understood what happened. So I calmly went to her and I said, "Excuse me." She threw a dirty Kleenex on my clothes. I'm not going to accept that.
Right.
I'm not. I told her as an 18-year-old adult. What am I going to tell her?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And there are times where I might go in a situation and you yell at the wrong kid, or you end up. Sometimes we get things wrong, and I will often if that happens, or if you lose your patience, I will go to a student and say, "I'm really sorry, I didn't know that happened," or "I'm really sorry that I said that," because everybody's human.
Yeah.
And we're really trying to model that behavior.
Right.
On our part, on how we want them to be.
Right. So they moved her. They moved her away from. They moved her away from the table. Because because I did it the right way. I didn't act angry.
Right.
But I told her in all certain terms, this has to happen.
Right. And that's perfectly acceptable, because that's one of the things I try to tell my students too, is how to advocate for themselves, but to do it in a polite, respectful way, because they're going to be adults someday.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not polite. Yeah. Sometimes you can't be polite. You gotta be strong.
Right.
Let me state this, and then I'll stop and we'll talk. There's times where I have to step in an examiner's capacity and tell adults, stop this. Stop what you're doing. Stop it. In a nice way, but stop it.
Right. You have to be nice. Yeah, exactly. And it's strong, too.
But I have to do my job. Yep. There was one. We never like to put families together. That's a no-no. Right? So as I was saying, so one of my colleagues said to me, "Hey, they're talking again." Right?
Oh boy.
I'm like, oops. He must have gone up already once or something. He didn't want to go back up.
Right.
He stood in the corner. He didn't go up. So I'm like, okay, it's my job to go up. Because I have to support. I watched it for half a minute and I realized it. I immediately jumped up and I said, "Excuse me. You need to." I told him, "You need to stop talking."
Okay. Yeah.
But the problem is the adult talked back at me.
Oh no.
He goes, I'm talking about a paper. I said, "Excuse me, I don't know that." Because there could be a code in the way.
Right.
You get me? I don't know what they set up.
Yeah. You don't.
So I'm like, somebody's got to move.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
He came back at me. He came at me again. And I'm like, oh. Finally, the teenager, she moved.
Oh no.
The teenager moved. Because she realized what I was doing.
Right.
Because she's used to school.
Right, exactly. Aw.
if an authority figure comes up to you and says, "Do this," what does it mean?
Janet, you need to follow through what they're doing unless it's something that's going to hurt you or somebody
Yeah,
else.
because she realized I need to move because this is gonna escalate.
Right, exactly. Yep, it happens. I agree.
Thank you for listening to my episodes. My episodes will come out Monday and Wednesday. You can listen to me on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and many others. This is not long. This is short. iHeartRadio. The reason I've done this podcast is to give people a voice. Because I think that the disabled community is missing a voice. But I am in a unique position of being able to afford minimal equipment to do this. I'm going to give you my email address. If you want to contact me,
you can take that if you wish.
ke4key@gmail.com.
What were you doing?
And
sorry?
I will also